Hi, I'm Mark Middleton, excited to make a major announcement today. Growing Bolder, the world's #1 lifestyle brand for the 50-plus demographic, is now the official and exclusive media partner of the National Senior Games Association, the governing body of the largest multi-sport championship event in the world for older adults. As part of our new agreement, Growing Bolder will produce special National Senior Games Association features year-round and has acquired the exclusive rights to live stream coverage of the National Senior Games in Fort Lauderdale next May. In addition, we'll be producing national shows in advance of and after the games. We'll broadcast daily updates from the games and create a Growing Bolder experience area in the Athletes Village. Why are we doing this? Well, because we believe that the National Senior Games Association is far more than an organization that stages first-rate athletic competitions in over 20 sports for women and men age 50 and older. It's a national grassroots movement of health and well-being, a diverse 50-plus community of active men and women who thrive on social interaction around shared passions. Participants come from every state in America in all shapes, sizes, abilities, and disabilities. We're talking about Olympians, high school and college stars, and ordinary men and women all coming together to celebrate a lifestyle that keeps them happy and healthy. You don't have to be an athlete or even want to be an athlete to be inspired by the women and men who are part of the National Senior Games Association. These are the role models that America needs now more than ever, and we couldn't be more excited to share their stories. It's another important step in our ongoing quest to rebrand aging from a time of loss and limitation to one of passion, purpose, and possibility. Growing Bolder is the voice of a new age. Hi, everybody, and welcome live to Growing Bolder headquarters here in Orlando, Florida. I'm Mark Middleton, and I will be joined in just a few seconds by the CEO of the National Senior Games Association, Mark Riker, by three-time Olympic gold medalist Rowdy Gaines, my Growing Bolder colleague Bill Shaffer, the Director of Communications for the National Senior Games, Del Moon, as well as a handful of National Senior Games athletes from all across the country. We are here today to talk about a health and well-being movement that is more popular than ever and more needed than ever. We're talking about participation in organized sports because the physical, the mental, the emotional, and social benefits are well documented and unmatched. Exercise is medicine, and we believe that the National Senior Games are the prescription that this country needs now more than ever. That's why Growing Bolder is teaming up with the National Senior Games Association to share the message that if you want to keep moving, you have to keep moving. So let's get moving. What do you say? Mark Riker joins us now. Mark is the CEO of the National Senior Games Association. As you guys should know by now, it's a year-round grassroots organization that stages the National Senior Games, which is the nation's largest multi-sport qualifying event for men and women over the age of 50, and as we've seen, all up into the 100s. And Mark, I know that putting on these competitions all around the country is really, really big for you guys, but I know your mission is bigger than that. So share with us, if you will, in your words, what is the National Senior Games Association about?
Well, first, Mark, we are so glad to be here again. National Senior Games Association, so excited to have Growing Bolder as our official media partner. It's just going to be spectacular. So many things that we have outlined to do to showcase what our athletes do. It's going to be amazing. But our main mission is to promote health and wellness to active aging adults 50 and over through education, sports, and fitness. And we're fortunate to have a network across the country in all our states that have individual games, that have competition yearly, and then filter up to an opportunity to compete in the stage at our national games, which we'll be having next May in Fort Lauderdale.
We're really excited about it. And folks, one of the things I really love about this organization is the diversity. I mean, we've mentioned men and women, 50 to 100, but former Olympic athletes, rote beginners, people of all abilities and disabilities, you welcome everybody.
That's exactly right. You know, you compete from a novice to elite to a new beginner to an old timer, somebody who's competed for 70 years of life and somebody who never picked up the sport until they were 70. So you're right, the dynamics of the community and the interaction between people and the support that they give one another, that's the fun and the beauty of it. As we say, it's all about fun, fitness, and fellowship.
Yeah, it is really exciting, and the pandemic, obviously, we all know about that. The 2021 National Senior Games were scheduled to be earlier in Fort Lauderdale. Now they've been pushed to 2022, next May in Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale is still the host city, and from what I've seen, they're going to go all out.
Yeah, we are still ready. We're really excited. Of course, we did the announcement on May 10th for the year out because the games will start May 10th through the 23rd next year in 2022. So qualifying is still going on. What's exciting is that our states are actually out there starting to have those games, and we've already had some of our local games that have already had their competition, opportunity for people to qualify to get into the games next year. It is going to be a reunion, as they say, for the ages.
We're going to be there. You know, I could not be more excited about it. Let's talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But, you know, we are celebrating the fact that Growing Boulder is now the official and exclusive partner of the National Senior Games Association, and that means a whole lot. We're going to be producing a lot of great content, sharing the inspiring stories of the NSGA athletes, several of whom you will meet live in just a minute. But first of all, we're going to have some great help as we share those stories in producing and sharing those stories. Three-time Olympic gold medalist Rowdy Gaines, a member of the International Swimming Hall of Fame, and a seven-time Olympic broadcaster, was with us in Albuquerque. He will be with us again in Fort Lauderdale. In fact, just one of several former Olympians that are now part of our coverage team. And folks, I got a great surprise for you because Rowdy joins us live right now from his home, straight from Omaha, where he has spent the past week or so calling the U.S. Olympic swimming trials. And Rowdy, I watched you work day in and day out. I know your voice is leaving. You got to be exhausted. How do you feel?
I'm feeling pretty good, Mark. Everything was so fantastic last week. It was a great exposure moment for our sport to be on primetime television on NBC for 8 nights in a row. And of course, I worked with Mike Tirico, who will be the host of the Olympics, and Michelle Tafoya doing the pool deck reporting. She's on the sidelines for Sunday night football. So it was really a great moment for our sport. But I'm back and at it now.
You are back in it. You are, of course, a Masters athlete yourself. You've set dozens of world records. You've been to a lot of competitions as both a competitor and a broadcaster, but I think it's fair to say that you were blown away by what we saw together in Albuquerque. Why has this movement of senior athletics, captured your attention so strongly?
Well, Mark, it was an amazing thrill for me to be there personally. I'm 62 years of age, so I'm in that sweet spot with all those athletes. And for you and I and the entire Growing Boulder team to be able to visit so many different sites and so many smiles, that's the biggest thing I noticed, was the fact that so many people were smiling, because I think you said it best. In fact, I wrote it down when you were talking to Mark. You said exercise is the medicine. And to see that across so many different realms of so many different sports, it was really touching for me, and it was inspiring. You know, you may say I was an Olympian, but you know, I went to that amazing event, the Senior Games, and I was inspired by so many, not only what they were doing physically, but emotionally and mentally and spiritually, and all the great stories that so many of those athletes had. And I think what's so great about Growing Boulder is the fact that we do such a great job in telling those stories, so people really understand what these athletes are all about, and really what makes them eat and breathe and live the sporting moment, and so across so many different realms. I can't wait to get to Fort Lauderdale.
It was fun for us to see your excitement, and folks, you should know, if you don't by now, that Rowdy will be calling his 7th Olympic Games in Tokyo with his broadcast partner Dan Hicks, which I think is some kind of record. So he has seen it all. I mean, this is the guy who called the Michael Phelps Jason Lezak relay that may be the greatest relay ever. But I've seen him cry as he watched the National Senior Games because he was so moved. And Rowdy, stick around. I want to talk to you more in a minute. But first of all, we've talked about our plans a little bit over the next couple of years. We're going to produce a couple of national TV shows together. We've got a new podcast, a very cool new monthly newsletter. And at the games, we're not only going to be live streaming some of the events, but daily wrap-up shows as well. And we're going to try, you and I, to put together a team of correspondents that includes other former Olympians much like yourself. We're going to try to shine the spotlight on this great movement in a way that maybe hasn't been done before. Are you confident we're going to be able to do that?
Oh, definitely. You know, I've been with you now, Mark, gosh, 15, 20 years, right? We've known each other. Actually, I've known you a lot longer, obviously, watching you on West 2, the sports anchor, for so many years. And, you know, One thing that I can tell you that I have full confidence in is the fact that we tell these amazing stories and we can do it together. I've seen you and your amazing team in action for so long, and I'm so proud to know you. I'm proud to call you a friend, obviously, but I'm also proud of the stories you're able to tell in my age group, and sometimes that goes unnoticed. It's sort of like our sport, swimming. Everybody kind of loves us every 4 years, and then we get kind of shoved back in the closet. Well, you are doing what so many people are not able to do. And as I tell that story of that great demographic that you were talking to Mark about every single day. And we're going to be able to do that in Fort Lauderdale in a much bigger and better way when we get there next May.
All right, buddy, right back at you. And do stick around a bit longer because we will be joined by some amazing athletes, and I want you to be able to interact with them a bit. But let's send it over to Bill Shaffer, who is one of America's greatest storytellers. He's a former sportscaster himself, also part of our broadcast team. And Bill, you're now with a guy who, really may know more about the benefits of sports as we age than just about anybody.
Yeah, I'm with Director of Communications, Del Moon. And Del, we're sitting here watching the reaction to this on social media already, on our Facebook page, on Twitch, on YouTube. I mean, there are people that are excited about this. The comments are coming in from everywhere. And Del, you are not surprised in the least about that.
No. They're just putting their sport in. Volleyball. No, these people are very excited. They're great. They're excited to have this opportunity. Many times they'd never heard of us. And they just really find everything that they need to nourish themselves as they age.
You've got a fantastic resume. You've worked with everything from the regular Olympics to the Paralympics. You've been involved in sports in a long time. You're even a participant.
Well, that's what comes from working with all these wonderful athletes. They have 5, 6, 7, sometimes 8 or 9 decades of experience, and they have this wisdom to share. I'm the guy that gets to write the story and amplify what they say. It's essentially they're talking to somebody else, but now I've taken them to a few thousand more people to hear that story. And from that, over time, I suddenly stopped and realized, now wait a minute, I'm a baby boomer. I'm communicating about health and wellness. I'm saying get out there and stay active. And at the time, I had 30 pounds too much on me. Well, that wasn't going to work. So I had one athlete, Lorraine Hildenbrand, poke me in the chest and said, I want you here with me in 10 years. You listen to me. She's 83. She was sure she was going to be here at 93, but wasn't so sure about me. So I went home and I looked in the mirror and I said, I got to do something. We introduced Power Walk as a brand new sport. NSGA helped start that as a competitive sport. So here I am looking for something to do, never been an athlete, Power Walk. I can walk fast. So it was strange because I didn't even realize it at the time, but I became the first NSGA staff member to ever compete in these games, which is a record nobody will take from me. So all you athletes out there, I got one.
So the point is, Del, that's your story, but it's also yours. It can also be yours by participating. Look at this picture behind. This is one of our favorite pictures in the whole office. Look at these. These are all women who are in their 90s, folks, and above. Thrilled, happy, excited. They're not sitting somewhere inside watching reruns of Matlock. They're out living their lives with purpose and passion, and they're doing something for their own health. Like, for instance, Del, who would you say would be the oldest person ever to compete in the national senior games?
Oh, you're throwing softballs. It would be Julia Hurricane Hawkins.
How old is Julia?
She's 105 now.
Is this her?
Yes. And Julia came to us in 2017. She decided, writing a journal, that she needed something for her 100th birthday. Said, you know what? I ran cycling. I cycled in that senior games when I was in my 80s. And I run out of people to compete against. So maybe I'll just go back and run the 50 meter because I know I can run inside the house to catch the telephone.
Now, this is a 103-year-old woman. This is like a first in human history.
Yep. And we got her. And she was so appreciative. She finally, she just came to an understanding that she had a platform. And she grabbed it and she ran with it. She came back in 2019, guns blazing, great interviews. just a really amazing, inspiring lady. And you know, I got to know her pretty well. I'm from Baton Rouge, so she lives there, so we have a lot in common. I've been to visit her at her house.
What's she like at her house? What kind of things does she like to do?
Well, she reminded me, and that's a picture I took in her backyard. She's pointing out some things in her flora and fauna in her backyard. She's got all these zones. She's really good with horticulture. She had all of her kids make little gnomes and cross over bridges and things. So her family history's out there. So she came up to me after 2017 and said, I don't really think I like that nickname you gave me. I'm the flower lady. And I thought about it for a second, said, I got to fix this problem. I said, wait a minute. When you are everywhere else in the world, you're the flower lady. When you strap up your shoes and step onto the track, you're the hurricane. She thought about it for a second, said, I can live with that.
It's amazing. She's 105 years old, folks. And just so you don't get the idea that this is some fluke, there's another person that, you know, we all have aches and pains, right? Your knees bother you, or maybe your hip bothers you. Well, that was the case with Dottie Gray. She was in her 90s. Her hip had degenerated to the point where she needed surgery, but the doctors go, no, that would kill her. Why would you do that to somebody? But this is why she went ahead and did it.
Right. And Dottie is just an amazing person. She's also one of 7 athletes who have been in every single National Senior Games since the beginning. She was even on our poster in 1993, I think. But at any rate, Dottie, the reason why she survived and pushed through it, number one, she's had this attitude of staying moving her whole life. But she was in a physical condition. No, she didn't degrade her hip by doing sports. She survived that and got the replacement and is back up and running again because she has done this for so long.
She's in her 90s. The quality of life she has is incredible. And they come together for the National Senior Games because it's a tribe. It's where you hang out with like-minded people. And what Del was saying, it inspires us, and we know it will inspire you as well. This is the kind of thing we all need to do so that maybe if we're 40, 50, 60 now, that when we're older, we can be like Dottie, we can be like Julia Hurricane Hawkins. And Mark, I wanted to throw it back to you because people get the idea sometimes that, well, women have it easier than men because genetically they live longer, but that's not necessarily the case when it comes to athletics as well.
No, you know, we can all benefit from getting moving. And in fact, another one of our favorite athletes, Bill, is one of the greatest age group jumpers in the world. And we're talking long jump, high jump, triple jump. He does it all. And this guy actually ran me down in Albuquerque. Listen to this. And you ran me down to tell me what?
I tell you that I think you guys are doing a great work. I love the coverage that you're doing, the stories that you're writing, because not a lot of attention is being paid to the older athlete. But we're a huge demographic, and we actually have a lot of buying power, actually. So I'm wondering, why are they ignoring us? And there's really good guys competing. Yeah.
And what's the message, do you think, that you guys are sending to the culture as a whole? Because I know it's not necessarily about winning for everybody.
Well, a lot of this is about the brotherhood and the fellowship. But it's also about, you know, keeping your body in shape, looking after your body, eating right, exercising, and there's really nothing off limits that you can do. If you work hard, you know, there's no telling what you can accomplish.
You like the concept of growing bolder and not growing older?
Love it. That's what I'm doing.
Brian won 3 events in Albuquerque and had a nice chat with Growing Boulder's Rowdy Gaines, a 3-time Olympic gold medalist. Like all athletes in the National Senior Games Association, there is far more to Brian than just competing. He has a PhD in accounting and is the CFO and associate pastor of a 10,000-member church in Sunrise, Florida, and he's a marriage counselor along with his wife. You know, he is a great and impressive guy. And, you know, Mark Riker is back with us. And as Rowdy and I have talked about, every one of these athletes, without exception, you know, has an incredible story. As storytellers, we say coming to one of your events is kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. I know that Brian will be competing in Fort Lauderdale next May. And as always, there's going to be a lot of new competitors because you're adding new sports and a new award as well.
We are. We're actually adding cornhole, beach volleyball, and soccer. And for some of you know, we have also announced the NSGA Cup, sponsored by Kohler Walk and Bath, which just provides some state pride, an opportunity for you as an athlete to get out there, compete based on the number of athletes and the number of medals and a percentage count as far as the athletes and the medals won from that state. So everybody has a chance to do it. And we're really excited to introduce this, but also the new sports, but also the other total of 22 sports that'll be going on. So there's an opportunity really for everybody to get involved.
Yeah, one of the things I love about you guys is you really are on the cutting edge. Cornhole is big time now. A lot of people like to play that game. What's cooler than beach volleyball? And we'll see it all in Fort Lauderdale.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun. You do not want to miss, as we said. This is going to be the reunion for the ages. But again, we missed everybody. Since 2019 has been a long wait, but we're ready to go. And we know we got to hear some stories from some of our athletes and the excitement they're getting ready for the games in Fort Lauderdale.
You know, another thing that intrigued us without end is the number of people that these athletes bring with them, because they don't just come alone. They come with their kids, they come with their grandkids, they come with their friends, and because of that, they bring a fairly large economic impact to whatever your host city is.
They do. We estimate there's a $35 million economic impact to the city. And we're having athletes come from across the entire country. So every state is represented, the District of Columbia, and we do have athletes actually coming from outside the U.S. that have qualified through our system. So we're looking at, in 2019, we had almost 14,000 athletes competing. So it's a great time. Again, be sure to get there for the fun, the fitness, and the fellowship.
Well, I can tell you right now, one of our producers, Lynn Mixon, and I are already talking about entering the cornhole competition. So folks, look out, because we're coming. All right, another athlete who will be in Fort Lauderdale is our pal Jumpin' Joe Johnson. This is Joe in Albuquerque. He had altitude sickness, extreme knee pain. His knees had to be replaced shortly after that. He really shouldn't be competing, but here's what he did. He passed every jump until everyone in the competition except him was out. He had 3 jumps to try to clear a bar. He missed his first 2, and then he did this. 1 jump with badly injured knees, and he becomes the national champion in the 75 to 79-year-old age group in pole vaulting, and we just had to ask him a couple of questions. How much is Growing Boulder responsible for your success today?
The Growing Boulder attitude is responsible for all of it. But you don't understand. I had some of that already. I was just glad I found somebody that's preaching it, man. It's like, yes. I couldn't put it in words. I didn't have the words, but I got the, what do you say? I drank the Kool-Aid, all right, way back when.
This is the national champion, Joe Johnston, Apopka, Florida. Badass #1. You know, Rowdy, I called Joe badass #1. Of course, he really is a sweet, kind man, but when he gets that pole in his hand, he gets that look in his eye, and it is on. And, you know, as we talked about, you just returned from the U.S. Olympic swimming trials. In your estimation, I mean, I've seen that look in your eyes as well. I saw it back in 1984 when you became a badass and stepped on the starting blocks and kicked the world in the 100-meter freestyle. How important is that attitude in making it to Tokyo, do you think?
I definitely think you have to have that kind of attitude, and regardless of the stage. I mean, obviously the Olympics is the grand stage for our sport of swimming, but this is the grand stage for so many of these athletes as we head into those senior games. And, you know, my hero is Joe. My hero is Julia. To be able to look at them and know what they've overcome, you know, this roller coaster ride of what we go through in life, of the peaks and valleys, you know, you can really see that in so many of these amazing athletes. And of course, when I saw you interview Joe and Julia and so many others in New Mexico, it was just, as I said, I just can't begin to tell you how inspiring it is for me. And I mean, I'm literally counting down the days until we get to Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, it's so great to hear you say that, but I have to tell you, folks, to be on a swimming pool deck with Rowdy Gaines, as he very humbly, with his head down, tries to walk around the pool unnoticed, is something to behold. Rowdy showing up at a swimming pool is an amazing sight, and we can't wait for him to show up in Fort Lauderdale. Rowdy, stick around, because staying active, staying engaged has not only allowed athletes in the National Senior Games movement to maintain a quality of life. For many, it's actually transformed their life. But staying active is great for everyone. In fact, we posted this question recently on social media. We asked, what is the biggest benefit staying active or playing sports has had on your life? And here are just a few of the answers that we received on Facebook. Elizabeth Hoban said, being able to teach my daughters how to play different sports and develop their skills. Stephen Tucker said, making lifelong friends. Amen to that, Stephen. Wendy Norris said, I started playing field hockey again at 49 and I love that it was outside my comfort zone. I love that I had to push my body to do this, plus my kids play, so now we have more in common. And Madeline Smoke said it improved my mental health. We hear all of that time and time again, so let's go straight to those who should know. Let's go straight to the horse's mouth, if you will. Joining us now, live from all over the country, let's bring them in. This is the Brady Bunch, as it were, today. Senior Games athletes themselves. And Del, since you're good friends with all of them, you've written stories about all of them. How about giving us a quick introduction?
Well, certainly. Hello, everybody. You're all my friends. I just love you all. Well, I can't, this is in no particular order, so I'm not favoring anybody here. Diet Sauer from Houston, Texas. Absolutely gorgeous, winning all kinds of medals now. Her story was she lost over 100 pounds and found an elite swimmer inside, and she's been a great ambassador for us. We also have an Olympian, Tom Lowe from Round Rock, Texas. He's running in the mid-distance events. He competed in the modern pentathlon in the 1968 Olympic Games, and he also came back 50 years later and organized the reunion of the Olympic team, which was a major accomplishment. What a wonderful thing he did there. Our next athlete here is Kathy Bergen. Kathy just had a slight accomplishment. She's just the most decorated athlete from the 2019 Games. And she just recently, I found out, set 2 new world records, which are waiting on verification, but I'll congratulate her for those anyway. Our next participant, Yvette Matthews from Durham, North Carolina. We just featured her as a personal best athlete. You can find her story on our site. She's a liver transplant recipient, and you know, a lot of times they don't want to get out after that. They're afraid to become active. She just went out there and got after it and got back into it. She's been in the transplant games and national senior games. We're just happy to have her with us. Great smile too. The next person here, a guy I know really well, John White, a triathlete from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The great thing about John is he's so social. He helps just bring Wisconsin Senior Olympics, to life. Ran that for many years. He's been on our board of directors, and he's always offered me a great deal of support and encouragement as I kind of transition to become a more active person. And then we've got Rowdy Gaines on the show, so I can't say this is our best swimmer, but Philip Jang is here. They call him Fish. And I actually featured him last year when I was wondering what's happening with the swimmers. They are really screwed. They don't have nowhere to do during this shutdown. And I wrote a story about him and how he got through that. And he's a fun guy, and not a mushroom. He's a fun guy, though. That's for you. You make puns, so do I. And the last one here, I love having her here, Deb Smith from Maine. She runs the Maine Senior Games, but she's inside and out of women's basketball. She plays it. She coaches it. She's got the Not Too Late basketball camp, and she's just always providing encouragement for people. So I'm just delighted to have you guys, on short notice, decide you can come on and chat with us. So, Mark, you want to take it from there?
Thank you, Dale, and thank you all for joining us. And let's let Rowdy do his thing, because he was interviewing Michael Phelps and Katie Ledecky and others just 48 hours ago. So, Rowdy, throw out a question to anybody here. I mean, what do you want to know about National Senior Games or senior competition in general? Because these guys are getting it done.
Mark, I thought about this since we talked this morning, and of course, seeing Tom there really boosts my spirit, because Tom and I are brothers in so many different ways, but I feel like these are all my brothers and sisters in great environment that we're going to be heading to next May. I guess the question is out there, Tom, maybe you would know best, but what are you looking forward to the most when we get down to Fort Lauderdale? Obviously the competition side, but is there anything else that you can share with us about looking forward to it? Anybody can jump in anytime, obviously. But Tom, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, let me start off by saying this boulder idea is just superb, because it entails the idea of taking a risk. And I think we're all ready to take a risk when we motor to Fort Lauderdale next year and put it all out there on the track and the pool, wherever we're going to be competing, because that's what it's about, getting prepared and doing your best and letting the chips fall where they may. But it's not really the podium that counts. It's the fellowship and the fun, and then the fitness that we create in ourselves along the way. So it's the total journey, the total package. That's what it's about.
This is Deb, and I couldn't
Mark,
agree more.
I know.
This is Deb, and I couldn't agree more. I cannot wait to see my tribe of friends on the basketball court, and we'll hug each other, but put us between the lines, and it's all-out competition. But I cannot wait to see them next in May.
Hey, and Deb, that's a good point you make. How did this pandemic affect all of you? I know it affected so many of the swimmers at the Olympic trials I was at last week. In fact, a lot of the swimmers that were supposed to have made it last summer did not make it. And just the opposite. A lot of the swimmers that were not supposed to have made it had that extra year to come in and make the team. How has the COVID crisis hurt you guys? I'm sure it has in many different ways.
We went 16 months without playing basketball, and we saw each other doing some different things. But we started 2 months ago wearing masks in the gym to get our workouts back going again. And we're now mask free, and our numbers are picking up. But most of us all just tried to do other activities to keep ourselves healthy and ready to go.
That's great.
Hey, Phil, how did you get through this? You and Yvette, since we got from the swimmer.
Living in New Mexico, we're kind of used to being dry or dried out. I'd like to say thank you very much to Rowdy for being an Olympian and supporting us senior Olympians. It's really wonderful to have a fellow swimmer represent us through the National Senior Games and Growing Boulder. I would like to say one thing about our sport. And I know a lot of people really appreciate the camaraderie, the thrill of competition, et cetera, et cetera. But one thing I found is the site selections have been really, really interesting. America, our country, is a beautiful place. There are cities that I would not normally have gone to. But for example, Bergen, Alabama, 2017, there was a ton of history. And I was personally really touched by what happened there. So besides the opportunity to go and compete, you go to different places and see different parts of the United States, and I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Let me let me throw this in, if I may. I think you guys know Rowdy Gaines is probably considered the worldwide ambassador of swimming. Philip Da Nang is pretty much the equivalent in the National Senior Games. This is a guy that everybody loves. He's always smiling. But I have to tell you, I'm a swimmer myself. I'm a few years older than Philip, and which is why when I age up, I show up, because I know Philip is behind me a couple of years, and when he ages up into my same age group, I don't want to have anything to do with it, because this guy is indeed a badass. And speaking of badasses, in the most kind and loving way, Yvette, let me throw you a question, because we've interviewed you before we even got involved with the National Senior Games. Your story is remarkable. You were overweight, obese by your own accounting. You drank too much. You were facing a future that really didn't have much optimism. How did you turn your life around, and how important was participating in sports to doing that?
Well, it's like everybody else. You have to make that decision to change. And I was sick of being the way I was, and I was not happy with it at all. And finding swimming and finding senior games and getting into the competition changed everything, because I'm from the generation where women weren't encouraged to do sports. This year I'm 80 years old, and in November I had COVID, and that was kind of almost like a death sentence to older people, but my sport kept me alive. My lungs and my heart, which had healed because of the swimming and because of the change in my lifestyle, it all made me come through it beautifully. And I kept telling the doctors, you don't understand. I've got a meet to go to. I got to get out of here. I've got to win.
Amazing. Del, do your thing. Throw out another question, will you?
Oh, well, let's talk to John White. He's a man of many words. I'm surprised he hasn't jumped in yet. But John, you do a lot of endurance races. You're a triathlete. You're like 3 times the sports that you have to be involved in. And all of that got curtailed. It takes a lot to get back up to a high functioning type of, endeavor like that. How has it been for you and your folks, that do those endurance things to get back to where you can be ready to go again? Or are you ready to go again?
It is a challenge to try to, like the other swimmers, to find an active pool that's open. To bike is, I don't say it's easy, but you can bike outdoors with no restrictions, and running is good. And but the running community really has been reduced because of the virus. I've been blessed with the ability to continue to be in the sport. Over 20 years ago, a woman on the board of Wisconsin Senior Olympics says, "Oh, you ought to do the triathlon." I said, "Okay." I knew her from doing swim meets, so I started triathlon, and I've been doing it ever since. I've done, as Philip said, we've been to many, many different states. I've been to 9 National Senior Games. I'm looking forward, like everybody else here, of going to Fort Lauderdale to celebrate my 10th swim meet, as well as my 10th triathlon. And my wife is also going to go with. She's competed many, many times, and this will be her 7th competition as well. So this is something that you can do with a spouse or a friend or people in your community. Or in Wisconsin Senior Olympics, we tell everybody there's something we offer that you can do. If it's not swimming or triathlon, it's bowling. As Mark said, there's cornhole, there's all kinds of sports. We try to reel everybody in no matter what. As Dale says, we have the power walk. We say there is something that we offer that you can do. Basketball, we have team sports like the other sports, but we throw it out there and says there's something here, something, and then we reel them in.
Well, you've done a great job, and there really are no excuses, which I want to ask Yvette about this, because Yvette, you, like everybody, had many reasons, many excuses to not get involved. I mean, you've come back from a very traumatic thing. Can you share a little bit of your story, and what would you say to people who think that there's nothing for them in this movement?
So I was diagnosed with a rare liver disease called primary sclerosing cholangitis. And the day I got out of the hospital, I got my walking chair and went up to the corner and came back, and I was exhausted. But the next day I got up and walked to the corner, crossed the street, came back, and every day I added a little bit more to my walking. And it got to the point where that following year in 2014, I was able to run a 5K.
Wow. It's amazing, and that's what we love about this, Rowdy and Dale. So let's wrap it up with this. Let me just throw this question out there to anybody that wants to answer, and maybe take it above even the sports. What have you learned about life? What's the moral of the story? We're in this business to inspire people to understand that more is possible. So can you share anything with us, the moral of your story that people should know?
I would say that no matter how bad you feel, there's always something you can do. Even if it's just going up and down the stairs in your house, moving makes you feel so much better, physically and mentally. It just brightens your day. And there's also, when you go to different competitions, you run into the same people and you start to make friends. And you go to the National Senior Games and you make friends from all different states. And you might even run into people that you knew from playing other sports when you were in like college or afterwards. You just, there's so many people, and it just seems like everybody has that attitude of just being happy because they're feeling so good.
Yeah, let me pop in and turn to Kathy. We haven't heard from her yet. You do most of your talking with your feet anyway. And you do such a great job in these games. And, you know, you seem to have gained momentum and become even stronger with time. That's a great thing. But then this pandemic hits you. You know, how has it been for you and the other people in your track club? They get through this okay? How are you doing? Obviously, you just set 2 records, right? Kathy? Kathy, are you there? I don't know if we've got her sound on. You may need to turn your sound on, Kathy. Anyway,
she keeps popping in and out.
Okay.
It's tough to get everybody, but let's do this, folks. Let's continue this. You know, Growing Bolder, among other things, is creating a live channel where we're going to stream conversations like this on Twitch. If we invite you guys, let me see a show of hands. How many of you guys will participate in an ongoing discussion about National Senior Games and Master Sports? I think it's going to be fun. We can do a lot of good. Thank you all very much for participating. So let's wrap this up, folks. What's the moral of the story in the big picture? What's the takeaway? Well, I think really simply it's this. If you want to keep moving, you have to keep moving. It has been proven without exception that exercise is the best medicine of all. It's better than pills. It's not only the key to preventing many diseases, it's now being prescribed to treat them. Add to that the importance of social connection, which has been well documented for decades and really became even more apparent during the pandemic. And all of that combined means to Growing Bolder that the National Senior Games Association is not just about this amazing biannual multi-sport competition. It's a year-round national grassroots movement that encourages health and well-being. And maybe equally important, it smashes the dangerous ageist stereotypes that make us all believe that life beyond a certain age is nothing but a slippery slope into decline, because it is not that. They've created an opportunity and they're providing a service that's invaluable. The competition is an important part of really something that is a much larger and more critical mission, and we are excited to help spread that word. So here's the takeaway. Whether you're an athlete or not, do this. Go to growingbolder.com/NSGA, where you can sign up for a new Growing Bolder NSGA monthly newsletter that shares the inspiring stories of men and women like those you met today. It's called The Fountain of Youth. That guy you're looking at there is our cover boy this month. That is Jumpin' Joe Johnston. And it's not just stories to inspire you, but also the tools and the tips to help get you up and get you moving. We're also going to produce a new Master Sports podcast, also called Fountain of Youth, in addition to a couple of national television shows. So remember, folks, it's never too late to make the rest of your life the best of your life, and it's never too soon to begin. So start right now. Go to growingbolder.com/NSGA. Mark Riker, this has been a lot of fun. You get the final comment. What do you think?
It is. It's been awesome. As you heard from some of our athletes on how they participate in the National Senior Games. And again, it's for all of you, again, to get in, be part of the fun, the fitness, and the fellowship. Just being 50 and over, you can join the club. And it's for everybody. As you heard from all the testimonies of these athletes, a small number that you just heard. But Mark, from one Mark who spells his name with a C to another Mark who spells his name to C, I really want to thank you for the friendship and the partnership that we developed here, and Growing Bolder being the official media partner for the National Senior Games Association. So many great things to come, but it's you, the athletes, and it's a great opportunity that we can share more of all the exciting things that you do and live that mantra that make the rest of your life the best of your life, which, Mark, you've used that quote, and I've always loved that quote. So again, we encourage you to get involved. There's no reason why you can't be involved. So again, thanks for everything.
No, thank you. This is the movement that America needs right now more than ever. And to know these guys is to love these guys. They don't just put on a great program. Their heart is in it. They're doing it for the right reason. So stick with us, stay tuned, and we will continue to follow the National Senior Games Association right straight through the National Senior Games in May of 2022. We'll see you then.